only on DAZN, July 12th. Ring 3, Berlanga versus Shiraz and Stevenson versus Cepeda. They're in their prime, they're hungry, and they're done being called the future. Berlanga versus Shiraz, Stevenson versus Cepeda. Ring 3, live, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. What's happening, my man?
Everything's good,
You good?
man. Everything's good.
Lovely little time out here in Istanbul for the IBA event. You just had one of your fighters on.
Yeah.
Didn't go the way you'd have liked.
Yeah.
Just a quick assessment of what you saw.
Gave it his best shot. Came on late notice. Lee Eaton hit me up recently, like a week ago. Said, "Can he fill in?" And he's Don Jenny's always in the gym, so he thought, "Why not?" You know, he's a family man. You know, these boxers they are family men. They have got family to provide for, so we came, gave it a shot. I think he's all saw that, you know, he did give it a good go, and yeah, the better man won.
Do you know what, there's something to be said for being ready and being able to step in at late notice, being fit enough and staying in the gym, because an opportunity like this, or an even bigger one, can pop up and you can earn big money at short notice.
Yeah, exactly. So look at what's the guy that fought Josh Padley. You know, changed his life.
Yeah. Matchroom deal.
Yeah.
First title belt last time out, so it works.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, let's talk the big one. I've got a couple of things I want to clear up. First off, the promotional situation with Chris Eubank Jr. So there's some uncertainty around Boxer at the moment. Obviously, didn't renew the deal with Sky.
Yeah.
I think everyone's heard loads of different things. From the horse's mouth, what is the latest with Chris Eubank Jr. and his promotional situation?
We still have a partnership with Boxer, and yeah, it was me that texted Eddie Hearn, that made Eddie Hearn go online and say Chris is a free agent. So, but I think he read my message the wrong way. He's not like Eddie's lying or whatnot, but it's just that no one knows the details of the partnership. So Chris and Nova Sport, we are the decision makers in this partnership, but in most cases with any network or promotional company, when they're dealing with Boxer, if Boxer say yes, no, maybe for a fighter, then that's they don't need to speak to the fighter. But in our situation, you still need, we are the ones that say the final say. So that's what I was just making sure that Matchroom understood, like, you know, Nova Sport needs to be, and Chris need to be kept in all conversations. That's all that was. It's not no massive deal. You know, Eddie Hearn is the king of social media and putting out narratives and whatnot. But no, there's no bad blood or anything bad happening between ourselves and Boxer. We since we joined Boxer, we've had 2 fights, 2 wins, one in Saudi Arabia and one at the Tottenham Football Stadium. We won them both, one by KO, one on points. It's been going fine. Boxer signed one of our other fighters, Mauro Silva. They gave a fight to Conor. Everything's doing well at the moment. So yeah, there's nothing bad to report. But I think Eddie and Frank just misunderstood what I sent them. What I've said to them is, Chris and Nova Sport have the last say on anything that happens. That's all that was.
What's the relationship like between you, Eddie, Frank and Matchroom? Is there any animosity, might be the wrong word, is there any needle? Because obviously there's so much in the main event in Chris and Conor, but does it ever extend past that?
No, listen, I've known Eddie Hearn since I was doing strength and conditioning for Darren Hamilton, and we all got to train up together from London to Hull when Darren Hamilton fought Curtis Woodhouse. I think this was 2012. How old have you been?
I'd have been either 13 or 14.
Yeah, there you go. And Frank Smith, of course, you know, we've known him for ages as well, and him and Emily have been in a long-term relationship. So I've been cool and had a relationship with them both before I've been working with fighters. So I have no. You've never heard me slag off either of them. I would never will, unless they do. Then I will.
Unless it starts, you give it back.
I won't.
Obviously, it was a 2-fight deal. The second fight locked in September the 20th. Was there ever a possibility that this wasn't the move? Because you know what it's like after a big fight. There will be fighters who want to fight Conor, fighters who want to fight Chris. And yes, this makes sense, the second fight, because it's so big. But was there ever a chance that fight number 2 was scrapped and Chris wanted to go in another direction?
As it stands, it's a 2-fight deal. Second fight will happen before the end of the year. There's still some small little things that we need to figure out. Nothing detrimental to the fight. But yeah, that's where it stands. It always has been a 2-fight deal. Even before the fight happened, when people were asking me what happens after Conor Benn, I kept saying, no, it's Conor Benn again. So yeah, we need to go over a couple of things, but we are not entertaining anything. We don't have no other fight. We potentially might have next is Conor, and here's what it is.
Is that standard procedure? There's just a few things to iron out. You know, it's been announced. Is that just
few things in our contract that's not in Conor's? One being rehydration, a few other small stuff, but it's not stuff that would be foreign language to the promoters.
Was it always going to be the same rehydration weight situation as what we had in April?
No, it's just the second fight has to happen before the end of the year. The terms we haven't discussed yet.
I spoke to Conor and he said everything is the exact same.
On his side, okay. I don't know what's in his contract. On our side, our contract's different to their contract. One, he doesn't have a rehydration, so
I'm presuming that he meant that Chris would have to boil himself down to the same weight. Unless I've read Conor's response wrong, but yeah. I said to him, are we getting the exact same bar, potentially a venue?
No one's speaking out of turn. Everyone's correct to their knowledge. So looking on the outside, you presume if there's a fight with rehydration clause and there's two fights, you'd presume the second fight is the same. But I don't go off what people presume. I go off on what's on the paper and what's on the contract.
I spoke to, it was Conor and Troy actually, and they were kind of going back and forth. Troy was saying, is there a level of respect now? You've been in the ring, even if you don't like each other, do you have that respect because you've just shared brutal rounds?
Yeah.
And Conor was like, nah. Is that what you expected?
Yeah. And
do you think Chris feels the same?
Chris hasn't said anything about Conor since the fight, to be quite honest with you. Strangely enough, I don't know. Listen, they even like I see Nigel Benn and Senior, they go back and forth till this day. I don't think they're ever going to be like, oh yeah, there's great respect. Let's be friends now and let's follow each other on Instagram and reshare each other's posts and sit ringside at each other's fights. I don't think it would ever be like that. It's not beef, but it's a rivalry.
What happens that's different in this fight in terms of styles, the way it matches up? Or do we literally get, not a carbon copy, do we get them two once again punching lumps out of each other and something that plays kind of to that exact tune?
Can't tell you the game plan because then that would just give away that would give away a lot. But you will see a better version of Chris. Now he understands what he's up against a little bit more.
Do you think he underestimated how tough Conor would be?
Not underestimated, but it's just a little bit of the unknown. You don't know what you're up against. It's hard to figure out how good he is when all he was fighting was opponents that I can't even remember their last name. Peter Dobson, I remember. Algeri, who's now a commentator. Van der Veerden, who every time I hear his name, I think it's like a PSV footballer or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. Doesn't it sound like some PSV or like final? Like Everton signed Van der Veerden for £11 million. Yeah,
quick, tricky winger.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I remember Peter Dobson. That's about it. So, but now we know that he's about everything that he's saying. So we'll rock and roll. We know what we're up against now, a bit more clearer, and let's get it cracking.
Can you see why the public perception might be that the fight's taken a lot out of Chris, and this will be a more difficult fight? Yes, Chris knows what's in front of him now, but the weight, just the manner of the fight, and obviously he's had a longer career. Can you see why people might think that fight's taken a lot out of Chris, and that works in Conor's favour?
Yeah, the public's perception doesn't really mean much. The public thought Daniel Dubois as a quitter after he lost to Joe Joyce. Look where he is now. The public thought Tyson Fury wouldn't come back after he gained all of that weight. He came back and beat Deontay Wilder 2.5 times. The public thought...
Let's just say free.
Yeah. The public thought that Chris should retire after George Groves. Prince Nassim was very disrespectful, saying some very strange comments about Chris after that fight. I would love to hear what he's got to say about Chris today. The public thought Chris was done after Liam Smith won, and look where we are today. So what the public think doesn't really matter, and it's amazing if they think, oh no, we shouldn't do it again, because it means they tune in, it means the odds decent, it means I can put some money on Chris and earn some money. So what the public think doesn't really matter. Everyone tune in, and then the public's opinion will be changed.
You mentioned Naz's comments. Is that something that you would like to see him come out and say, I hold my hands up, I was wrong, or is it you've made that comment, you've been on that side, stay on that side?
Yeah, not really. It's long gone now. That fight was in 2018 or something like that. And Chris is not out here thinking he can't move on with his life until Prince Nassim, says sorry. Chris don't care about Prince. I don't really know him. I have a decent relationship with his sons. They're cool kids. I see them in the Kamani Club in Dubai. That's about it. If you don't need no apology, that's what it is.
Yeah. And obviously Conor's here in Turkey. You just said before we started this interview that you've seen each other briefly, but you two are cool. There's not a...
Yeah, unfortunately we're not with the same weight class, so a fight between me and Conor is never going to happen. And we're not gangsters, so we're not going to start making phone calls and bringing mates to come fight each other. It is business. He's the opponent of my fighter, my very close friend, the guy that got me into the sport. So, they will get it on. They'll get paid a lot of money for getting it on. And Chris will come out victorious.
Yeah. When are we going to get a venue announcement?
I have asked our lawyer to lead the conversations in terms of what's going on with all of that, so I'm just waiting to hear what's happening.
Mate, I can't wait. One was good.
Who do you think's going to win?
Good. I've never once gone on record ever saying who I think's going to win any domestic fight with people I know.
So let's change it.
I can't do that.
Why?
Because it's not like...
Benn's over there.
He's shitting his pants in it.
Joe, you can fuck off. You can fuck off. I think in my position I would never. Like, I'll sit there and say, like I said to Frank the other day, that you'd like Daniel Dubois to bring the belts to the UK, but I think two domestic guys. Did you see that viewpoint from me?
Yeah, they're staying on the fence, trying to be politically correct. I understand, it's all right. Listen, I think.
Do you want me to sit in Napa and say that I think Chris is going to win?
No. You can say Conor's going to win, and then when Chris wins, I'm going to be like, where's that motherfucker? I should even swear, it's not really my style.
You're going to hate me like Naz.
Yeah. But listen, look, I personally think Chris will win, and then after that I think Conor will go on to have a good career at like middle or welterweight or whatever. I think he's a decent fighter, but I just don't think he can beat Chris Eubank Jr.
Just how special is it as well, just finally on this fight, because I think a week or 2 weeks after we had the show in Times Square that led Turkey really to say, I don't want Tom and Jerry fighters. I want you to turn up and show out for me and everyone who's paid to watch, those who are buying the pay-per-view. Just how special is it knowing that we aren't going to get either of them running, as the term. I know you've got to box sensibly at times, but just refreshing that you're going to watch that fight and know you're going to get entertained, and people aren't turning up for the paycheck and not really taking a punch.
Yeah, it's the boys setting an example, and ourselves, matchroom boxers, should make sure we're very cute with the matchmaking to make sure the undercard is the same, because it would be amazing if it was 5, 6, 7 top fights that were all 50-50, 60-40 scraps where everyone.
Anything you want to see on the undercard specifically? Any guys who might have fought in the last couple of months?
I want to put Blair Cobbs on the undercard. Okay. So Blair Cobbs versus English welterweight. Okay. So I know.
Last time I see Blair, he was causing mayhem, trying to dig.
He's
at
the perfect type of guy to put on the undercard, isn't it? You know me. Look, Brandon Glanton come cause to havoc. We don't come and bring guys that are shy. Yeah, so
causing havoc's an understand.
Might even bring Brandon back actually. Yeah, but Blair Cobbs will be on the undercard versus English opponent. Could be Conor Walker, could be Jack Catterall, could be Eko Usman, could be Josh Taylor. Who knows? We'll like to sit down and see who we can get him in the ring with.
Quality, Napa, everything cleared up.
Yeah.
You're the man. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Eddie wasn't lying about the text he received, but he just took it wrong. All it was is that Boxer, Chris and Novasport are in a partnership. Well, Boxer and Chris. Chris is represented by Novasport, and we are the final decision makers on things. That's all. It does not mean that the partnership's broken. Yeah, got it. I don't have to repeat myself again.
They've all got it.
Bang bang.